A key moment leading up to the present Gaza crisis came in 2011, when in exchange for a single Israeli soldier kidnapped by Hamas, the Israelis released over 1,000 prisoners from their jails, none more famous than Yahya Sinwar. He had been incarcerated for 22 years after being sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms for murder. He was given a hero's welcome in Gaza and was quickly reintegrated into the Hamas leadership. In 2017, he was appointed to replace the outgoing Hamas leader in Gaza, Ismail Haniyeh, and he was reappointed to that post in 2021. He never made a secret of his elaborate plans to have thousands of Hamas fighters attack Israel, which he called the Jewish entity.
وستنطلق جماهير شعبنا وأمتنا عبر الحدود تتدفق كالسيول الجارفة لتقتلع كيانكم. سيجد كل واحد منهم إما سكينا يطعن به أو سيارة يدهس بها أو زجاجة حارقة يشعل بها قلوبكم.
True to his word, the October 7th attack was codenamed Al-Aqsa Flood. It was just as murderous as he planned it. Ehud Yari has been a television journalist and author in Israel for over 50 years. He wrote the first biography of Yasser Arafat. He regularly visited prominent Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. He interviewed Yahya Sinwar 4 times.
He was always, wherever he was sent, he became in no time the leader of all the prisoners, whether they Hamas or Fatah or any other organization, because of his domineering personality and his ruthlessness. People became either fans of his, or were too afraid of him.
Hussein Ibish is senior resident scholar at the Arab Gulf States Institute in Washington. He says Sinwar wanted the massive Israeli counterattack that has killed thousands of Palestinian civilians.
They have said not only do they want a permanent state of war with Israel, but if October 7 had not provoked this reaction, they would have tried again and again and again until they got this reaction, because the ultimate aim is to lure Israel back into the Gaza Strip in a permanent way, and to attack the Israelis in an insurgency that goes on day in and day out, so they can say to the other Palestinians and the Arab world, we are the national movement. We are fighting occupation forces every day for control over Palestinian land here in Gaza.
Research analyst Joe Truzman at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies has closely followed Sinwar's career.
In 2022, he stated publicly that if Palestinians did not have a gun, that they should use cleavers and axes to kill Jews. All right. Now, you can, at the time, you could say, oh, well, that's just rhetoric. He doesn't really mean it. But he does. He did. I mean, look at what happened October 7th.
It was very clear that the state of Israel should be destroyed, and the Jews cannot be a part of a Palestinian state.
Back in the 1980s, Sinwar was an acolyte of Hamas founder Sheikh Yassin, the quadriplegic religious leader. He has said that Yassin charged him with rooting out traitors and collaborators in the Hamas movement. At his 1989 trial in Israel, Sinwar confessed to murdering a suspected collaborator named Ramzi in the graveyard of his Gaza hometown of Khan Yunis. He said, "We didn't tell Ramzi what we were going to do. While we interrogated him, we didn't beat him much. I blindfolded him with a rag so he couldn't see. I put him inside a large grave and strangled him with the kafia I had. After strangling him, I wrapped him in a white shroud and closed the grave. I was sure that Ramzi knew he deserved to die."
He said that the Palestinian victim knew that he deserved to be choked. The guy is a shrewd, cunning, sophisticated psychopath.
I think he's a vicious guy. I think he's one of these people who might have been a gangster in other circumstances, right? He certainly has this violent streak. There's no doubt. He thinks in a violent way.
During his prison years, Sinwar used the time to learn Hebrew. He said it was to better understand his enemy. Shortly before he was released, he gave an interview in Hebrew to Israeli TV, during which he claimed that he was now prepared to turn the page and work towards a 50-year ceasefire in the region.
אני חושב שהעמדה שלנו שאנחנו נתמוך בכל דבר שירגיע את האזור.
I think Sinwar has been playing this ruse, right, for a long time. I mean, he fooled the Israeli prison authority into allowing him to be released or putting him on the list to be released during the Gilad Shalit deal. And now look what happened. And also in the last couple of years, he made it out like Hamas wasn't interested in conflict with Israel.
He knows Israel. He's watching Israeli television. He reads the Israeli press. He knows the nuances between politicians and parties and, all sorts of influences on social media, etc. He considers himself an expert on Israel.
In 2021, Sinwar launched a wave of rockets from Gaza to rain down on Israeli civilians. The Israelis responded by bombing the famous Gaza tunnels, and they destroyed Sinwar's house and office with airstrikes. After he negotiated a truce, Sinwar claimed victory and posed for this photo in his destroyed house, a brilliant public relations move that added to his popularity in the Arab world.
You know, for him, Gaza can be destroyed, half destroyed. You don't measure it. As long as Hamas, bleeding, even humiliated, stands on its feet, it's a victory.
Is it possible that Sinwar has miscalculated, that this war could turn the population of Gaza against Hamas? Hussein Ibish thinks that could happen.
It requires Israel to leave Gaza and allow Hamas to crawl out of the rubble and declare divine victory. At that moment, and for the weeks and months after that, it will become hard for Gazans not to have a debate. Like, what happened here? Why did they do that? They knew it was going to happen, and they brought this on us. What did we gain? What have we lost? This is insane. And they are horrendous and get extremely angry with Hamas.
On November 4th, the Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, announced that his forces had Sinwar surrounded in an underground bunker, unable to communicate with his Hamas troops. Yahya Sinwar has always been conscious of the target on his back, according to Ehud Yari.
He always makes a point of being surrounded by children to deter the Israelis from going after him, because he's a target, obviously. He knows, and I think he accepts it, that he has to run for his life for the rest of his days. I think he understands at the end the Israelis will get him. It doesn't matter where he is. He can be in the bunker for a year, for 2, for 3. At one point, the Israelis will get him.
I agree with that. I think this is October 7. All the authors of October 7 believed they were signing their death warrant. Israel has clearly decided to kill everyone involved in October 7. And I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do that. Yahya Sinwar signed his death warrant.
As he has done many times in the past, in October, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu swore vengeance against Hamas leaders, whom he referred to as dead men. He recently called Sinwar a little Hitler. In his deal with the Israeli government, Sinwar settled for a 3-to-1 ratio in his trade of civilian hostages. He is expected to be much tougher in negotiations for Israeli military captives, if not at the over 1,000-to-1 ratio that brought about his own release 12 years ago. Terence, McKenna, CBC News, Toronto.